then what you have received and heard, and keep that and repent. The second part is this. This is what I want to focus on. If you will not, I will come like a thief. Now, where have we heard that before? In the Gospels, specifically Matthew 24. If not, it's 25. But I think it's 24. Let's look at Matthew 24. Like I said, I don't have my notes, so I'm going to kind of remember what I wrote. Matthew 24. Yes, found it. Matthew 24. Let's actually get some context. Let's start at verse 36. Now this is Jesus' great last sermon. It is known as the Olivet Discourse because he gave it on the Mount of Olives. Those of you who've been to Israel, you know that the Mount of Olives is right across the way from Jerusalem. In fact, when you stand on the Mount of Olives, you look across the way and you can see the Dome of the Rock. That's where the temple would have been in Jesus' day. You know what I'm talking about? Okay? So the Mount of Olives is where Jesus is giving this last sermon. And what is he describing? The whole chapter is about the destruction of the temple that's coming. All of it. We will take some time to go over this again because this is such an important sermon of Jesus for multiple reasons. Okay? None the least of which is that it's through here that we get an insight into what the last days will be like. Because what happened to the temple in a small way is what's going to happen to the cosmos in a big way. It's, if you will, a dress rehearsal for the end of the world. What happened to the temple is a dress rehearsal for what's going to happen at the end of the world. Okay? You with me? So part of this message is Jesus giving words to his disciples to watch, be ready. So, verse 36. But of that day and hour knows no one, not even the angels of heaven nor the Son, but the Father only. As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and given in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark. And then what? The flood. And they did not know until the flood came and swept them all away. That's what it's going to be like when the coming of the Son of Man happens. It's going to be like the days of Noah. 2 men will be in a field. One is taken, one is left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill. One is taken, one is left. Watch, therefore. For you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this. Now here's where we're cluing into what Jesus is saying in Revelation. Clue in. But know this, that if the householder had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have watched and would not have let his house be broken into. So Jesus likens his second coming to a thief breaking into a house at night. Do you know when the thief is coming? No. If you did, what would you do? You would leave. You would get your gun ready. You would call the police. You'd be ready, right? But do you know when the thief is going to break into your house? No. In the same way, you don't know when Jesus is coming for you. So is he talking about the second coming? Yes. And what else is he talking about? Your personal death. The particular coming. Do you know when you're going to die? No. If you had known, you would get ready. You would prepare. You would repent. You would be at Father's confessional so fast it would make my head spin. Right? So the point is what, Seth?
Be prepared. I'm still seeing empty confessional lines.
And that's because we're not telling everyone the beauty of confession. We're not telling them about that. Come and get your sins repent. Get right with the church. Get right with God. Because you don't know when you walk out this door and get shot by someone. You could get hit by a car. Right? You do not know the time in which our Lord is coming for you.
You don't know when or how.
You don't know when or how. He comes like a thief in the night. So the moral to the story is stay alert and be ready. Whether we're talking about the second coming or your own personal meeting the Lord. There's always that dual element to eschatology. There is the personal, private judgment that will befall every one of us sooner or later. And then there is the macrocosmic one in which Christ will come, and that will set the end times. Do we know either? No. 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 So, get ready. That's what Jesus is talking about in the message to the church of Sardis. If you don't repent, I'm going to come like a thief. Where did that come from? He told his apostles that. Now I'm going to take you to another verse to show this idea was a common Christian idea. This imagery of the thief in the night. Okay? So the first one is in Matthew. Okay? Now the second one is in the book of 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. First Thessalonians chapter 4. Hold on. All right. This is it. I'm pretty sure. Was it Second Thessalonians? I don't think so. Double check. Could someone do me a favor? If someone's got internet access, look up thief.
That's what
There's in my book, it's Luke chapter 12, verse 39.
That's he's talking about the thief binding the strong man. But there's one in 1 Thessalonians, or is it 2 Thessalonians?
5. This 1 Thessalonians 5. But as the times and the seasons, brother, you have no need to have any.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, good. Got it.
What is it?
It actually begins in 4. 1 Thessalonians 4, but it bleeds into 5. Okay? What's important about this section is that commonly non-Catholic Christians view this verse. This is one of the key texts most non-Catholic Christians will take you to for their belief in the rapture. You heard about that? The rapture? Have you heard of it? It's a Protestant belief, really, that began in the late 19th century. It's the first time it was ever really promulgated. It's the belief that Jesus is going to come back in secret, snatch up all of the Christians off of the world generally before, the coming of the judgment of God on the earth through the Antichrist. So in other words, before the Antichrist reveals himself to the world, Christians believe, non-Catholic Christians believe, that they're going to be caught up or raptured off of the earth in a secret meeting with Jesus before the Great Tribulation occurs. Okay? If you've ever heard about the Left Behind books, if you've ever heard about Kirk Cameron, they did a movie. They did actually about 3 movies with these. The whole premise is that life's going on as usual, and then all of a sudden, all of these Christians are taken out of the earth. And all that's left behind are the non-believers. And then the Antichrist appears. And then all hell breaks loose on the earth. And this is God's judgment on an unrepentant world.
But it's not true.
But that's not true. Okay? But it's a common Christian belief. Almost all of the TV preachers that you hear that are not Catholic spout this.
Are you saying?
Well, and the whole idea is you get right or you're going to get left. Right? Get right or get left. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be left behind when Jesus comes and snatches everyone away, and then you're left here to fend off the Antichrist and all of that stuff. Okay? The problem with that is it's simply not true. There is absolutely no historical evidence for such a belief. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Okay? But one of the chief biblical texts that they'll point you to is here in 1 Thessalonians 4. And I'm going to show you how it actually connects with what Jesus says in Matthew 24. So let's read it. Verse 13. But we would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning those who are asleep. What does that mean, those who are asleep? Christians who have died. Okay. That you may not grieve as those who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so through Jesus God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep. Okay?
So this is when the last believers.
We'll keep reading on this. For this we declare to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, shall not precede those who have fallen asleep. Who are those who have fallen asleep? Those who have died. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a cry of command, with the archangel's call, and with the sound of the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. What do we call that? The resurrection. When does that occur? The end of time. When Jesus comes back. Everyone good so far?
Yes.
Okay, keep reading. Then we who are alive, who are left when? At the time of the second coming, at the end of time, shall be caught up together to meet them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air. That's where they get the word rapture. Caught up to meet him. So the idea of the rapture, people, is that Jesus comes back in secret, the dead are raised, and then we who are alive meet him in the clouds. And then there's this whole group of people that have left that are not Christian, that is left to suffer under the reign of the Antichrist. You see that? But when you read this text, what's the first thing that you notice? Is this a very secret thing?
No.
What gives you the impression it's not a secret?
Call the angel.
Call the angel, trumpets, cry of command. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a very vocal thing. And the dead coming back to life, I don't think that's going to be very secret. Right? So what are we describing here? The second coming. And what did Jesus say about it? Everyone's going to see it. When the Son of Man comes, you will know it. He will send his angels and gather the elect from the four winds. You'll know when the second coming is going to happen. There's no secret. Right?
Yes.
And if there are people alive still that believe at the time of the second coming, guess what? They're changed. They're glorified at that time. There will be a group of people that will not see death. What a privilege that is. What a grace that is, huh? But what is he talking about? The second coming, not a rapture. How do I know that? Keep reading. Verse 17, then we who are alive, who are left, shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore, comfort one another with these words. Keep reading. But as to the times and seasons, my brethren, you have no need of anyone to have anything written to you. For you yourselves know that the day of the Lord will come
Like a thief in the night.
thief in the night. That's the clue. And where did Paul get that idea from? Say Jesus. Because he spoke about this same image when? In Matthew 20:24, about how is he going to come back? Like a thief in the night. And if you had known when the thief was coming, you would have been prepared. See how Paul is connecting with what he's carrying on the tradition of the apostles. Where do you think he got this? From Jesus, who taught his disciples on that Olivet discourse. You get it? So the understanding of the thief in the night imagery comes from Jesus, describing his second coming, right? Now, is it only his second coming? No, it's also our personal meeting him, right? But in the context of what Paul is describing here to the Thessalonians, he's saying, I don't want you to be without hope. Those who have died aren't going anywhere. Okay? When Jesus comes back again, they're going to rise from the dead.